There is a podcast that lies between the imagination of two simple-minded earthlings. Travel with these two longtime friends, Jimbo and 80s E, as they attempt to explore the fifth dimension. Follow along with them as they take the key and unlock the door to the vast space between shadow and substance. This podcast is one of trivia, of insight, and of sounds and ideas from one of the greatest television shows ever produced. You are embarking on a timeless journey. There is your signpost up ahead. You are entering the tragedy of cinema's Twilight Zone.
You're watching a ventriloquist named Jerry Etherson, a voice thrower par excellence. His alter ego sitting atop his lap is a brass stick of kindling with the sobriquet Willie. In a moment, Mr. Etherson and his knotty pine partner will be booked into one of the out-of-the-way bistros, that small, dark, intimate place known as the Twilight Zone.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema podcast, the Twilight Zone series. I'm your host, Jimbo, and today I'm joined by my two very special co-hosts.
Hey, this is Bond.
Hey, this is 80Z. Hello again.
Bond and 80s. We are closing in on the end of season 3 of the Twilight Zone. I can't believe it's been like 5 years in the making, Eric, since we started this or something crazy. But, you know, it's really crazy. You know, I was just thinking about this. I was driving to work and I was listening to a couple of episodes. And I thought back, I said, man, you know, the podcast is almost 7 years old now. And I remember it's only been, I think it was like, it started in April. And I think it was about the middle of May, maybe early June, I get a message from none other than 80Z. He said, man, I seen that you're doing this podcast. I liked it, blah, blah, blah. And we hadn't talked to each other, man. It had probably been at least 20 years, maybe 25 years. So if nothing good ever came out of this podcast, it's just great that I got to hook back up with my childhood friend after all those years and get called back up. And now it's like, we're like good friends again. It's amazing because, you know, when you're friends with somebody, and I want to say this to 80Z, it doesn't matter how far or how long it's been since you talked to somebody, they're always still your friend. Their true friends are always still there. And we picked up just like it had been days. So, you know, 80s, I love 80s.
Forget the part where you blocked me for 6 months.
Well, yeah, that too. But, you know, I love 80s. I love his family. And Bond's starting to grow on me. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So
Like a fungus.
But tonight, we are covering, gentlemen, one of the Twilight episodes that has stuck with me since childhood. My grandma, I used to go spend the night with my grandma over Memorial Day weekend or Labor Day weekend, whichever one had the Twilight Zone marathons. I'm sure you guys are old enough to remember those. It was like the whole weekend or 24 hours straight, back to back to back. And this episode tonight is one of those episodes that I fell in love with as a kid. And of course, I'm talking about The Dummy. And I'm not talking about my co-host tonight. I'm talking about the episode in season 3. Eric, do you happen to have the episode number of season 3?
It's episode number 33 of season 3. By the way, just as a side note, we are approaching episode 100 of the series. I believe it might be the next episode is episode 100 of the entire series. So
well, that's even really cool. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and give a little plot summary of this episode here at the beginning. So Jerry Etherson has a reasonably successful nightclub act as a ventriloquist, but has one major problem. He believes his dummy, Willie, is a sentient being who speaks to him and manipulates his life. His agent, Frank, thinks Jerry needs psychiatric help and tells him he has no future in the business if he doesn't do something about his delusions. Jerry decides to lock Willie in a trunk and try his act with a different dummy. Willie has plans of his own, however. Dun, dun, dun. Did either of you ever have a ventriloquist dummy when you were growing up?
No way, man. There's no way I'd have that thing in my house.
80s?
I had a paper one, I think, where it, it was really cheap. It was like a cardboardish kind, and it had a little hole that you stuck your thumb
like a paper
the
bag.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The paper bag where you
yeah.
But I remember
In that case, I had one of those too. Man.
Yeah, I remember going into like Toys R Us or even here at Children's Palace, and I'd always go down that aisle, man, and you see that Charlie dummy, man, and I was like, man, I want one of these so bad because they look so cool and creepy. I was like, I'd love to be able to do that. And there was a guy that we went to church with, Mr. Horner. Do you remember him, Eric, that had the ventriloquist dummies?
I remember I remember a ventriloquist like coming to church, and yeah, he had like a whole case full of dummies.
Yeah, that was him. Without further ado, ADZ, let's take away our journey into the fifth dimension tonight.
Yeah, all right. This is the Twilight Zone. This is the episode season 3, episode number 33, as talked about before. It's entitled The Dummy. It was directed by Abner Bierman, and the story was by Lee Polk. And it came in with a production cost of $52,358.98. And we have an original air date for this episode of March the 5th, 1962. And just by way of dates of filming and rehearsal, this one actually, I got to amend this. The original air date was May the 4th, 1962.
Be with you.
Dates of rehearsal was March the 5th, and dates of filming were March the 6th, 7th, and 8th. So 1 day of rehearsal. That's kind of the first time I've ever seen that, I think. Just 1 day of rehearsal and 3 days of filming. And for the original air date of May the 4th, may the force be with you, right?
Yep.
1962. Let's go to our favorite segment in the episode, the segment that we like to call On This Day in History. All right. For On This Day in History, we've got some TV, music, sports, film. We've got it all. It's for May the 4th, 1962, the episode's date, but we're going to go travel in time. We're going to go all the way back to 1878, and we're going to talk about one Thomas Edison and his invention of the phonograph, right? We're all familiar, Thomas Edison, he's associated with electricity, the phonograph, one of the biggest inventions maybe ever. It's shown in 1878 on May the 4th. It's shown at a Grand Royal Opera House in New York City for the very first time in 1878. Let's skip ahead a few years to May 4th, 1929, and Lou Gehrig hits 3 consecutive home runs, and the Yankees beat the Tigers 11-9 on May the 4th, 1929. On May the 4th, 1944, MGM released the film adaptation of Gaslight, starring Charles Boyer, Ingrid Bergman, and an 18-year-old Angela Lansbury in her film debut. So I just threw that one in there because I think we had Angela Lansbury connection a few episodes back. May the 4th, 1959, the first Grammy Awards ever. And Perry Como and Ella Fitzgerald won the two major awards in that very first Grammy Awards. You guys fans of the Grammy Awards?
I've given up on the Grammys, man. I've given up on.
It's the same thing
ever
as
since
the Oscars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's ever since Milli Vanilli won for Best New Artist, and then it comes out that they didn't even sing the songs. I was like, well, the Grammys are over. I'm not really big on industries patting themselves on the back.
Yeah.
And then you find out that it's all political. It's all about who donated, how much money, who campaigned the hardest for it. And I'm like, I don't know. It's lost its sheen over the years.
Kind of a turnoff. Yeah, I get it.
Best lip syncing award goes to
Milli Vanilli. Now you know it's true.
It was devastating. I know, wasn't it? All right. So May the 4th, 1984, Dave Kingman's Fly Ball Never Comes Down, and it got stuck in the Metrodome ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
I vaguely remember hearing about that, I think, in 1984. May the 4th, 1999, on more modern times, The Mummy film, directed by Stephen Sommers, starring Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz and John Hannah, premieres in the U.S. in 1999. Do you guys like that movie?
I do.
Yeah, it's a great one, man. I love that. I could watch that one right now.
Yeah, have we covered that one?
We
On the
haven't.
podcast? Haven't. Okay, it wasn't for sure. Maybe we will. May the 4th, 2002. Barry Bonds, the steroid king himself, hits his 400th home run in 2002, and the Giants beat Cincinnati 3-0.
Ooh.
Bonds is the first player with 400 homers for one team and 100 with the other. Can you name the other team he had 100 home runs with?
Yeah, it was
San
Pittsburgh
Francisco, we got
Pirates.
400.
Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yes, that's correct. Good job. April the 4th, 2023, actress and writer Carrie Fishers, who is best known as Princess Leia from Star Wars, is honored with her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and that was in 2023. A couple of birthdays. Audrey Hepburn, one of our favorites, May the 4th, 1929. She, of course, was a British actress, known for Roman Holiday, Breakfast at Tiffany's, My Fair Lady, and she was born in Brussels, Belgium. May the 4th, 1959, if I can get that out. American country and gospel singer Randy Travis. He was born. He is currently 66 years old. And finally, May the 4th, 1989, Irish golfer and 2025 Masters winner Rory McIlroy was born. May the 4th, 1989. And that concludes this day in history. So I'm going to toss the baton over to Bond, and I am going to ask him to give us the cast for this particular episode, a great episode entitled The Dummy.
Hey, as we talk about this mediocre episode called The Dummy, episode 33 of season 3, you got to talk about our main character, Cliff Robertson, who plays Jerry Etherson. He's also, of course, he's a ventriloquist, so he's the voice of Willie. And he's also the voice of Goofy Goggles.
I love Goofy Goggles. That reminds me
Goofy Goggles.
of Eric when he used to play basketball in elementary school. He had the goggles. Did you have
the protective goggles?
Never had the goggles.
You didn't have the goggles?
No, got me mixed up with.
Oh, you just had the goofy glasses.
I had the goofy glasses for sure.
And Bob still has the goofy glasses.
Hey, these are prescription, I'll have you know.
Who was it that wore them goggles? Do you remember?
I don't know. Yeah, you're going back in time tonight.
Going back.
Remember?
Hey, Cliff Robertson, he's an Academy Award winner, man. He won an Academy Award in 1968 for the movie Charlie. But you and I and everyone else knows him as Uncle Ben from the Spider-Man movies, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. He played Uncle Ben. We also have Frank Sutton. Frank Sutton played Frank. What a stretch. He's Jerry's agent. He was on TV's Untouchables. He was on Gunsmoke. And here's a little side note. He's colorblind, completely colorblind. So even though this episode's filmed in black and white, he didn't know. He thinks all the episodes are in black and white. Yeah, it made no difference to him. We also have George Murdoch as Willie, like Willie the ventriloquist. He was also on TV's Gunsmoke. He was on Hawaii Five-0. Came out in a couple of the 60s Batman episodes. We have John Harmon, who plays Georgie, the nightclub manager in this one. He came out in episodes of Star Trek and The Rifleman. Sandra Warner plays Noreen. She was in Some Like It Hot, and she's also in the Twilight Zone episode Nice Place to Visit. Mm-hmm. And that's really our main cast for those.
All right. Did we mention Frank Sutton in Private Pile USMC, the great spinoff from the Andy Griffith Show? Right? That's what.
That's true. That's
Sergeant
true.
Carter. Yeah.
Great,
Sergeant
you're
Carter.
pushing it now.
That's what I remember. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. All right.
Oh, that's great.
Ready for an outline for this this episode entitled "The Dummy." Act number 1. Let's establish madness and paranoia. We have an opening narration of Rod Serling, and we're introduced to Jerry Etherson, a nightclub ventriloquist. The setting is a theatrical, but it's laced with uneasiness, right? So we have an onstage performance. Jerry performs a polished routine with his dummy, Willie, The audience laughs, but the moment he's off stage, Jerry is shaken and visibly disturbed, right? The go-go girls behind, they try to joke with him in the back, and he's just really serious, and he just wants to get away from the stage as soon as he's done. That's pretty evident in the for opening act. So we learn a little bit more. We go inside Jerry's mindset and why he's so disturbed, because he has a backstage meltdown. Alone in his dressing room, Jerry hears whispering, and he believes Willie is speaking to him without being manipulated. He tries to calm himself with alcohol, right? You see him like pull the drawer out on the desk, and he takes a swig, but he's really tormented by his dummy. And then shortly thereafter, we're introduced to Frank, the manager. This is Jerry's manager. And of course, Frank tries to reassure Jerry that he's just imagining things. And we learn that Jerry has a history of drinking and emotional instability. And I have a question mark here. Gaslighting or truth? Frank blames the incident on Jerry's nerves or drinking, but Jerry insists that Willie is alive and that he's evil. And it leaves Frank is really upset. He's disturbed because obviously if Jerry can't perform, then Frank doesn't get paid. So he has a vested interest. Is there anything that stuck out to you guys in the first act, in these opening scenes?
Well, you have to watch out because Willie bites.
Yeah.
He like bit him on the hand.
Yeah.
Right at the end of the act. And so, it's one of those things where when he's behind stage, he's dealing with the bite marks on his finger.
Yeah. Jimbo, anything?
I just love the way that this is shot cinematography wise. The way that they do what?
Yeah. I was going to mention that. Yeah, like when he has that small mirror on the desk.
Yes.
And that's like a reflection of him and the dummy both in the shot.
I love it. I think it's very well done.
I thought that was pretty cool. All right, so let's hear a little clip of Frank and Jerry, duking it out, so to speak. I thought this was probably one of the high points of dialogue in the episode, so let's take a listen.
I gotta get rid of it, Frank.
A stick of wood? This fugitive from a fireplace? Jerry, how many psychiatrists do you have to see? How many hours on the couch does it require? How many $20 an hour visits?
I can't help it.
You can't help it. You know what it is. You've been told.
Often, endlessly, up to my craw and overflowing. Schizophrenia, I know it by heart. Patient feels helpless and manipulated by forces outside of his control. I can give it to you frontwards, backwards, inning and outing and fending in 3 different languages. It's like a well-rehearsed off-color gag. Patient goes from himself to a lifeless dummy and then is unable to separate himself from the dummy. Oh, that's all very psychiatric and erudite and worth about $2.50 a word, but it's not right. It's not right. I told them that. I tell you that. It's no more schizophrenia or paranoia than his athlete's foot or a head cold. Willie's alive.
He's a dummy. He's a block of wood. Look at it. Does this thing look alive to you? Well, does he? 24 inches of timber and you're shoveling yourself into a grave over it. Now, you listen to me, Jerry. I've gone along with you. I've held your hand. I've sung your lullabies. I've patted you on the shoulder. I've also covered for you the 110 performances you've run out on. I thought of excuses that haven't even been invented yet. I've gone without commission, without sleep. And why? Because I thought I had a talented article here that eventually was going to crawl out from under a bottle and hit it big.
Sergeant Carter really comes through there in that dialogue. That's why I kind of always associate him with that. So shortly thereafter, we're introduced to Goofy Goggles because Jerry has a revelation, right? If he can just lock Willie in the trunk, so to speak, he can break out Goofy Goggles or whatever his name is, and then Goggles doesn't give him any problems. No, he does exactly what Jerry wants.
The ball.
Yeah. So Jerry shows Frank a new dummy he wants to use, and he's hoping to escape Willie's influence. Frank is skeptical, but he's, of course, still supportive because he wants to get paid. So the first real sign of the supernatural that we get is that when Jerry locks Willie in the trunk, Minutes later, he finds the trunk empty, and this is great. And Willie is mysteriously sitting in the chair.
Yes. I love it.
I love that shot. And Jerry, of course, freaks out. I like that shot and the shot of Willie in the alleyway. We'll get there in a second, where there's like his shadow is on the
His shadow.
Yep.
That was pretty cool. So that concludes Act 1. We're seeing this conflict obviously develop. So in Act 2, I entitled this The Descent into Delusion or Possession, however you want to interpret it. The attempt to escape. Jerry tries to break the cycle again by going on stage with goofy goggles. He believes he's finally free of Willie. And then Jerry and Goggles do their routine, but Georgie, the nightclub owner, is not sure about this new routine. So Frank and Georgie are like talking over, at the bar, and they're like, "Yeah, he wants to try this new routine." Frank is trying to advocate for his client, and he's trying to tell him that everything's going to be fine.
And he's like, "No, they come here to see Willie, and he's going to come out here with Willie." He's like, "They're here to pay money to see him, and that's what we're going to have."
Yeah.
He wants them to go out into the audience and like intermingle with the audience and visit with them too.
Yep.
Right. That was a big point of contention that, Jerry just does his act and gets off stage. He really doesn't interact with anybody. And so Jerry and Goggles do their routine, and then they're alone again, and we have a confrontation scene in the back room again, the dressing room. Jerry tries to leave the club after he packs everything up, but is tormented by Willie's voice in his head. And then the camera, the cinematography is pretty cool in this episode. The camera like turns on an angle when, I think it's when Jerry goes into the alleyway. Mm-hmm. And it has that confrontation. And then they have this chilling conversation where Willie speaks on his own, and he's taunting Jerry and calling him weak and a freak, and he's a drunk and he's dependent. And he sort of backs Jerry up against the wall. And fear peaks as Jerry attempts to destroy Willie. And then Jerry returns to the trunk and tries to smash Willie, but as it turns out, in fact, this is the first Twilight Zone twist. He smashes Goggles when he pulls Goggles out of the trunk instead of Willie, and then Goggles is smashed all over the floor. And again, just implying or reinforcing this supernatural bond or curse that's taking place. What do you guys think about that scene? The first Twilight Zone twist in the episode was pretty cool.
Heartbreaking, man. Heartbreaking. Now, I have a question for you guys.
Yep.
Do you think that Willie is actually talking, or do you think he is just really schizophrenic and has multiple personality disorder where it's all in his head?
And I went back and forth on that issue the whole episode. I was like, okay, it's just in his head. Okay, he's just imagining this. But then every once in a while, something will happen. Like he ends up back in the seat, he ends up back in the chair. And you're like, okay, well, he's not imagining that. He's really there. Or, the shadows in the alleyway and stuff like that. I think there's like all the physical stuff kind of proves he's not insane, but no one else can hear the dummy speaking. Nobody else can hear him yelling at him or berating him all the time. So that part right there kind of like confused me, where I was like, I don't know if it's in his head. How much of this is he imagining? How much of it's real? One of the things I thought this episode did really well was confuse that line, between reality and insanity.
Yeah, I would agree. It was really hard to determine. I kind of vacillated back and forth too. One thing I did leave out was the confrontation with Noreen in the alleyway too. He's trying to. I didn't get that scene, honestly. I don't know if that was just filler or what. Like, I think he wanted someone around to reinforce that he wasn't crazy. And then, Noreen sort of took it as like he was trying to pick up on her. And
right. Well, I think he was
handsy with her. And then, like, she just wanted to run away because she was getting freaked out because he was,
I really believe he thinks Willie was going to kill him, is what I really think. And he was hoping that if somebody was by, that he wouldn't come out and kill him.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I was kind of trying to make sense of kind of that whole scene, but
Because doesn't he say something like, "You're nothing without me. I made you," and all that? Doesn't he say something like that?
Oh yeah.
I think he does. I don't know the exact line. I don't have it pulled up here, but yeah, I mean that the anticipation and anxiety really build in that alleyway scene, and along with the camera angles and stuff, that was pretty cool.
And I think he likes Noreen. I think that just his paranoia and the dummy Willie kind of freak her out. You know what I'm saying? Well, it freaks him out, and in return, he comes off kind of creepy and weird. And so
Right.
that kind of turns her off, where she's like, "Okay, get away from me now. You know, I thought you were a nice guy, but come to find out, you're a weirdo."
Yeah. And yeah, that makes sense that Willie would want to sabotage any relationship outside of theirs. So yeah, that makes sense. Act number 3. You guys ready for the final turn and inversion? So the aftermath of all of that's taken place, what we just talked about there, something is off. And we hear muffled sounds and find Jerry slumped over with vacant eyes. And then the great reveal and the great Twilight Zone twist, they go back out on stage, and the final performance, if you will, and we get the twist of role reversal. Willie takes the stage, now fully animated and speaking fluently, and he refers to the new dummy, who we realize is Jerry, who is now the new dummy. And we have our second Twilight Zone twist of this episode. And the shocking visual as Jerry is the dummy. His eyes blink mechanically. His jaw opens and shuts with a lifeless clack, and he has become a puppet. And then we have the closing narration, of course, where Rod tells us that this is a cautionary note, and the blurred lines between the master and the servant, sanity and madness, control and surrender, all residing in the Twilight Zone. So that concludes the episode. Anything in 3? What did you think what did you guys think about the dummies and the reversal? Do you think the actual faces looked pretty close to the actor? And I don't know. What do you guys think?
I thought they looked pretty close. In fact, I think one of the things that's kind of the scariest part about this episode are the dummies themselves. And so when you see that role reversal switch and Jerry becomes the dummy, then I don't know, that's so creepy.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was meant to be that creepy, but it definitely was.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought it was pretty well done. Jimbo, what do you think?
I love it. Like I told you, I said it always had a special place in my heart. And and I remember, if you've ever watched the new Twilight Zones that came out with like 2 seasons just a couple years ago or whatever, there is one about a comedy club guy, I remember, and it's kind of along the lines of this, but it's about a comedy club. So I'm not going to spoil a lot for it, but if you haven't seen that one, you might want to go back and see it. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
One thing I did notice about this episode was at the beginning, they announced the act as Willie and Jerry. But at the end, with the twist, the announcer says, "Our next act is Jerry and Willie."
Yeah.
So even like the way they announce their names is reversed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good pickup. Let's learn a little bit about the author of this episode in our trivia. All right. So the guy's last name was Polk, and he was an employee of WND TV Channel 13, an affiliate of the Educational Broadcasting Corporation in New York City. He submitted an idea involving a ventriloquist who suspects his wooden dummy is alive and suffers from the effects of the dummy improvising on stage. Serling was intrigued with this premise, and after making arrangements with Buck Howden to secure the rights to the story, he wrote the teleplay. This was script number 97, giving Polk on-screen credit for his story. So I thought that was pretty cool. Piece of trivia, as Jimbo says, that Rod Serling should stop writing the episodes of The Twilight Zone. This one was actually a story adaptation from a guy by the name of Polk, who apparently was an employee in television, I guess. So the dummy Willie was created by an American ventriloquist and maker Revilio Pate. And while the dummy is seen at the end, while the dummy was seen at the end was created by the English builder Len Insole. So I guess so Willie was created by one guy, and the dummy at the end was created by someone else. Willie is in the private collection, get this, of magician David Copperfield, along with Cliff Robertson's dummy effigy, which appears at the end of the episode. So I guess David Copperfield owns both of these dummies. So I guess that was kind of cool. It says both dummies were subject to careful preservative renovation by the American artist and puppet restoration expert Alan Seamock. And so I guess they're still in existence, owned by David Copperfield, and they're still around. I don't know. Maybe he should submit them to the Smithsonian or something. So
yeah, there's got to be some kind of museum or something that he could donate them to.
Yeah, because I don't know what prop piece you guys are going to pick, but that's a prop piece that I would pick. I would want one of the two dummies if I could pick my prop piece up front. The ventriloquist dummy was later reused in Caesar and Me, 1964. It had a similar plot in which Jackie Cooper plays a ventriloquist. I haven't seen that particular movie, 1964. You guys seen Caesar and Me? Have either of you seen that movie?
No, I haven't seen that one at all.
No. So there was actually two ventriloquist-themed Alfred Hitchcock episodes that I got to see. One of them was called The Glass Eye, and it was produced in 1957. And I also watched, I think I texted you guys about this, the movie Magic from 1978 with Anthony Hopkins. That was star-studded. There was a lot of money that went into making that movie. What did you guys think about that one?
The movie Magic it's just as creepy. I think that maybe I have this deep fear of puppets or these ventriloquist dummies, because I watched that one when I'm not going to say 1978, but I watched it later and it still freaked me out. It still kind of scared me. And I don't know if it's just because they're too lifelike or what it is about them, but yeah, that movie scared me as a young one.
Do you think that this episode played any influence into Child's Play, Chucky?
Oh, I don't see how it couldn't, right? Yeah, I think that's a lot of the themes that went into Chucky, right? Mm-hmm. Like it was, it's been a long time, but like there's
like a possessed doll type thing.
Yeah, like a lightning bolt hits a criminal, right? In the first Chucky, and then the criminal takes up residence in the Chucky doll.
Well,
right?
he's basically gets killed by the police or whatever and cuts his hand and goes into Chucky or something, right?
Yeah, there's a whole story. There's a whole Toy Story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's one thing, if you've ever seen Dead Silence, I don't know if either one of you have ever seen that one. That's another scary puppet movie. You look at Frank L. Stein with, was his name Charlie in those books, Bond? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. The R.L. Stein books.
Yeah, or the Goosebumps, whichever one it was. You have that. Just haunted dolls in general, they're kind of creepy, like porcelain dolls, and there's just something about a doll that's scary, especially older dolls, that really haven't been taken care of. There's even that island somewhere in the Pacific, I think.
Yeah, the Island of Dolls,
yes.
Right? That is hundreds of dolls hanging from rotting trees and stuff.
Yeah. Have you not seen that, Eric? There is I don't know if it was Ghost Adventures or if it was what's the one with Destination Truth with Josh Gates, where they actually go. It is creepy because you'll see those dolls move on their own. They start blinking, and I'm like, no, I'm out. But
there's like a swampy shack that's on the island, and
you can only get there by
legend about
ferry or something.
Yeah, there's a legend about a man who his daughter died, and so therefore, like the daughter's soul is possessed inside one of the dolls, and
like she drowned.
The whole island. Yeah, the whole island's just covered in these rotting dolls.
Wow,
you have to check it out, Eric. It's pretty creepy.
There's several other movies here, ventriloquist themed movies. I won't mention them all, but that there's some kind of lore that surrounds ventriloquism, and it goes back, hundreds and 500, 600, 700 years, going back to like the British Empire, and if you could really take some time and dig into that, but it goes back a long way. And, I think for a long time they called it like throwing your voice.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, superstitions and stuff that originated from, say the 1500s, that the voice actually emanated from like your stomach or your intestines or something. I read something like that somewhere, but yeah.
And ventriloquism's still big today. I could argue that ventriloquism's huge today.
I mean,
Yeah,
Jeff
like
Dunham.
Jeff Dunham, right? would
Yeah,
be-
Jeff Dunham has sold out shows all around the
And what's that
nation.
girl that won like America's Got Talent?
that was
Yeah, there's that. If you would have asked me yesterday, I
I
got it right
know
away.
Grace, or I can't remember, but she's really good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Terry Fader's got his own show in Vegas.
Yep.
And so there's a whole bunch of those.
Darcy Lynn, I think's her name.
Darcy Lynn. Yeah, Darcy Lynn.
So it still is big in performance art. Yeah, it's still it's hanging around after many hundreds and hundreds of years. So Willie looks remarkably like Edward G. Robinson, right? That's who he was designed like Willie was. And I just know him as he played Dathan in the Ten Commandments, I think. And he also was, I know him for Rocky and the Bugs Bunny character, Rocky, the gangster guy. That's who Edward G. Robinson was. That's where I knew him from. But according to production sheets, the poster hanging outside the nightclub advertising the circus clown, the Great Pascal, was apparently an original created specifically for this episode. So I guess there was no real Pascal, Great Pascal. I did this is a quote from Robertson. He says, I did 2 of the Twilight Zone episodes. I had a reservation on American Airlines or Pan Am flight from New York to California for one of them, I believe. And I believe it was the dummy. And he goes on to say, he says, I was scheduled to arrive in Hollywood days before they really needed me. I rescheduled for a later flight and someone told me that I would get in trouble. But I just did not see any reason for flying in and waiting for my turn before the camera. I'm glad now that I did it because soon after the flight took off, the pilot had a heart attack and everyone perished.
Oh, man.
And that, he said, he's quipped as saying, that episode of The Twilight Zone almost killed me.
I wonder,
oh, my goodness.
I wonder if he was the writer of that episode 22 or whatever it was, number 20, remember? Well, we got room for one more. You know what I'm talking about? Where the airplane blew up?
Yeah, I remember. It wasn't the last flight. It wasn't Flight 33. I can't think
it was
of
22 or something like that. Remember?
Yeah, you're right. It's just, the episode was just entitled 22. Yep, you're right. So I thought this was interesting. Maybe it'll be interesting to you too. Cliff Robinson is also credited with providing the voices of both Willie and Goofy Goggles. So apparently he had some level of talent going back to Magic in 1978. I guess Anthony Hopkins, he practiced for months and months and months, and he actually got really good at, I'm kind of off track here, but the card tricks that he does in that movie and even his ventriloquism part. So, I mean, Cliff Robinson, he was talented as well, and Willie and Goofy Goggles voices. I think this is the last trivia I have. On May 10th, Lee Polk wrote Sterling to tell him that everyone I know who saw the dummy was properly chilled by the climax. Congratulations on a most effective program. I am appreciative of the opportunity of having been involved. The best news for we hardcore fans is that you're staying on next season. You have all of our many wishes for continued success. After all, to paraphrase W.C. Fields, a program that even makes room for one idea of mine can't be that bad. And then Rod wrote him back on May the 21st and thanked him for being part of the episode as well. That pretty much brings me to the end of trivia. Just got questions, observations, thoughts, feelings, ratings, and all that stuff. So
let's let 80s E go first this week. We don't hardly ever let 80s E go first.
That's true. He kind of just goes off.
Just throws it off on us.
Okay. So I like my questions and observations were paranoia and possession. The story plays on the themes of addiction, control, and identity fragmentation. And going back to what Bond was saying, it kind of walks the line. You don't really know. It leaves it open-ended whether he's really insane or is Willie real. Like that line is really blurred, and I like that. The lighting cues and the cinematography, I really liked it in this episode. I think it really brings the tension into the episode, and then the double twists are really good. So here are my remarks, and then I forgot to tell you guys what a rating it was. I think it was a 7 is what IMDb rated it. Yeah, it was a 7.7 on the IMDb scale. So I'll just give my final remarks and my rating. So The Dummy is one of the Twilight Zone's most chilling episodes, masterfully balancing suspense and psychological horror. It is very reminiscent of Alfred Hitchcock's style of episode. The cinematography stands out with unsettling sideways angles and stark contrasts of light and dark that heighten the sense of paranoia and dread. The writing builds tension, steadily culminating in not just one but two unforgettable twists. First, with the shocking moment when Goggles, the dummy, is mistakenly smashed, and ultimately with the horrifying reveal when Jerry, the ventriloquist, has traded places with his dummy, Willie. Frank Sutton's sharp, commanding dialogue adds even more weight to the escalating madness, making the episode a haunting showcase of atmosphere, performance, and narrative brilliance. So, as you could probably tell, I enjoyed the episode. I think it actually needs to be notched up maybe to an 8. I think 7.7 might not do it really too much justice. I got really into, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, like right after we recorded, I started working on these episodes, and I started watching every ventriloquist themed television show, movie. I really got immersed in it, and yeah, I think that probably helped boost the score a little bit. And I'll take either one of the dummies that you guys don't take for my prop piece.
Well, the good thing is there's 3 dummies. I want Goofy Goggles.
Hey, who you call the dummy?
Goofy Goggles. I'm thinking Goofy Goggles. That's mine.
I'll take Edward G. Robinson then.
Bond gets Jerry.
No.
Really?
Nope.
Willie's Edward G. Robinson. Yeah. All right. So I don't know. That pretty much wraps it up for me. Who's next?
I'll
go next, just so I can sandwich it. I'll go next, just so we'll end on a positive note, because I don't like ventriloquist dummies. I recognize the quality of the episode. I recognize the cinematography. I love the angled cameras. They weren't afraid to turn the camera. I love that, because as his insanity grows, the camera angles tend to be even more askew, which, hey, I recognize that. That's great stuff. That being said, I don't like ventriloquist dummies. I don't like ventriloquism that much.
Fair enough.
I hate the fact that every single ventriloquist dummy is either very rude and insulting or a pervert. Every single ventriloquist act I've ever seen, they're either super perverted or they're super insulting. So when this one happens, what happens? He's just super insulting to Jerry. I'm like, there you go. See, another rude, insulting, sexual deviant of a dummy.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys talked me up a rating or so. I did not like this episode at all. You guys got me to a 6.
All right.
A 6 that's only because talking it through with you guys, and you guys both love this episode. So I'm going to say a 6. You won't let me have a showgirl as a prop. You probably won't let me have the whiskey hidden in the drawer as a prop. So I guess I will take Willie, the third dummy.
Well, you could have took the poster outside the place, or the neon sign or whatever.
But then I found out the poster is a complete fake. It's not even a real clown.
It'd be a 1 of 1 though. You'd be the only person that has
only. All right. It's come to the time of the moment of truth. Watching this, as Bond pointed out, when they turn the camera and he's hearing them voices, and you see him sweating, and he's looking one way and looking the other way over his shoulder, and you see the shadows and the lights and all that, and the little fog go rolling in. It kind of reminded me of when Bond and I just did The Shining, how they Kubrick shot that Shining, where it was basically, closing in. You felt claustrophobic when Jack Nicholson was going insane. It just kept zeroing in. And that's kind of what I got with them shooting this. I think just for watching these when I was younger with my grandma, that holds a special place in my heart. I'm a good, I like all kinds of the weird doll movies. Like I said, if you haven't seen Dead Silence, that one's really creepy. It's pretty good if you haven't seen it. There's just something about it. Something that neither one of you can tell me that you never tried to do ventriloquism when you were younger. Everybody in this podcast did. Yes, even Bond with this sack lunch puppet, or even made sock puppets. Did you ever make sock puppets, Eric? Out of a tube sock?
Oh yeah, I remember doing.
Oh, okay.
Dead Silence was 2007. It's in my notes. I forgot to mention.
And I think there's a second one too, or there's even one called The Boy. Have you seen The Boy?
I've seen The Boy. That one's
that's crazy too. So, with that said, this is far and above the last couple of episodes we've covered have been tankers. They have been so boring, and there's hardly any twist. That I think that this one brought it back up. And what happened? Rod Serling didn't write this one. So I think when he doesn't write it, things tend to be better. So I'm not going to be a super geek and give it a 10 or anything, but I think to be respectable from everything that we've talked about. I mean, even the period costuming that like the showgirls wore and all that, it's beautiful. So I will take it to an 8.5. I just think that it's one of the upper echelons of season 3. Yes, I said it. Compared to some of the ones we've watched this season, I have total faith that it is. I mean, you've got to say it's in the top half at least of season 3, because there has been some really bad stinkers. I mean, stinker awards could go with some of these episodes we covered. So, but Eric, next week, what episode are we covering next week? Do you have a little preview for us?
I do, in fact. The title of the episode is called Young Man's Fancy.
Oh, no.
And you want to talk about a clinkers. So get ready. So let's hear a little preview from next week's episode.
And now, Mr. Serling.
Next week, through the good offices of Mr. Richard Matheson, we tell you a story of a young man's fancy, which is kind of a euphemistic description of a mortal combat between the living and the dead, between the present and the past, between Miss Phyllis Thaxter and Mr. Alex Nicol. The battleground is this old house, and its front door will be open to you next week on the Twilight Zone.
There you go. Get ready for Young Man's Fancy next week on the Twilight Zone.
All right. Well, I think this episode's coming to a close, and that's a wrap.
And?
Cut.
What's known in the parlance of the times as the old switcheroo.
We were walking along
From boss
together.
to blockhead and a few uneasy lessons. And if you're given to night clubbing on occasion, check this act. It's called Willie and Jerry. And they generally are booked into some of the clubs along the Gray Night Way, known as the Twilight Zone.